Hi, I'm not some coach or athlete, I'm just a normal guy who got ripped and it was actually pretty easy. In my journey, I have learned that the most important thing for aesthetics is the food you eat. I don't follow some rigid perfect diet and count every calorie. I eat pretty freely. It's all about knowing what is healthy and what is unhealthy food. Welcome to the Purposeful Men movement. I help men improve their lives by strengthening their minds and their bodies. This isn't the usual entertainment video, this is a raw, authentic video that will provide you with real value. Most people have clicked off by this point, but most people will torture themselves with bullshit diets while never becoming aesthetic. But for the person who stayed, I will talk about the 3 steps that will allow you to easily get ripped. Step 1, what to eat and avoid. Step 2, should you count calories? Step 3, how to control yourself. Step 1, what to eat and avoid. There is this common misconception in the fitness space that it doesn't matter what you eat as long as you meet the right macros and calories. When I followed this advice, I got terrible results because I was eating junk. Sure, macros and calories matter, but the most important thing is the type of food you consume. If the food is unhealthy, then that's just empty calories that are not nutritious, they do not satiate you, and they do not help you gain muscle. The reason obesity is so prevalent in the Western world and especially America is because of certain foods that in reality are ultra unhealthy. It doesn't matter how little you eat, if your only caloric intake is junk food, it will be nearly impossible to actually gain muscle and also lose fat. I listened to this advice of eating whatever I wanted, and so I ate burgers and these shitty chocolate creams from the supermarket at lunch. I was lucky to not get fat, but I also had no muscle even though I was training regularly. Please do not waste your time training if you're going to eat junk. But what should you avoid and what should you aim to eat more of? It's hard for me to say in one video, but basically you should avoid processed foods. Processed foods are foods that contain more than one ingredient, and this is the majority of foods in the supermarket. Why should you avoid processed foods? If you type in processed food study in Google, you will literally find page after page telling you about its terrible health effects. It's a well-established fact in the scientific community that processed foods are just very unhealthy. Additionally, there is actually terrible regulation for what food corporations are actually putting in the food. There is a whole lot of corruption going on in the industry no matter where you are in the world, so chances are if you're eating something processed, it might have hidden ingredients that are not listed on the label, which is actually terrifying to find out. The point I'm making is that the obesity crisis in the Western world is mainly caused by processed foods, but you can easily escape that by just adopting a one ingredient policy. This basically means that from now on, you eat foods that do not really need a label because they're just the one ingredient you see. This means you focus on eating meat, dairy, nuts, vegetables, fruits, whole grains, and other whole foods. This is the singular best diet advice I have ever gotten. Just avoid processed foods and eat one ingredient foods. My current diet consists of eggs, chicken breasts, cheese, whole oats, yogurt, spinach. That's literally it. And from here, I try to diversify by eating whatever natural cooked meals I can get my hands on, but never processed food. By eating this way, I can eat a lot without actually gaining any fat, and I feel absolutely amazing and my body has become extremely aesthetic. Step 2. Should you count calories? A lot of people think that to become aesthetic, you need to autistically count every single little calorie and barely eat anything, but I'm here to tell you that that's bullshit. I do not count calories and I eat as much as I can. I never hold back, because when you actually eat natural, healthy foods, it feels nearly impossible to overeat. Overeating happens because, as I said earlier, processed foods are often nutritionally deficient but still high in calories. So the calories make you fat, but your body still doesn't get the nutrients it needs, which leads to you being hungry super quickly, even though you have just eaten a McDonald's hamburger 2 hours ago. But when you eat natural, one ingredient, real foods, you actually get the nutrition you need and the calories aren't even that high. The point I'm trying to make is that first, it's very hard to count calories with one ingredient foods because you don't have a label. Second, you don't even need to worry about counting calories if you exercise and eat healthy consistently. I used to eat processed foods and I tried to count every single calorie. I was obsessed. I actually managed to not gain fat, but I also didn't gain any muscle. It was a trap. If I ate in a calorie surplus with processed foods, I would quickly start gaining fat. If I ate in a calorie deficit, then I would barely gain any muscle. This was happening because I was eating processed foods that were not providing me with good nutrients, so my muscles didn't get what they need. But the processed foods were high in empty calories, so I would have to eat very little to actually not gain any fat. This meant I was always nutritionally deficient, even though I was technically eating the correct amount of calories. The point I'm trying to make is that you do not need to count calories if you want an aesthetic body. Adopt the one ingredient principle, eat natural whole foods only, exercise plenty, and see how you will naturally start gaining muscle while losing fat, because your body finally has the nutrition it needed all this time. Eat consistently for a week this way, and if you haven't lost or gained the kilograms you wanted, then simply increase or decrease the amount of food you eat for next week. You don't need to count if you don't want to. I don't count, and the results speak for themselves. And it's not like I'm 60 kilos, I'm 80 kilos and I'm ripped. Step 3. How to control yourself. When you decide to go on a one ingredient type of diet and you decide to quit junk food, fast food, processed foods and refined carbohydrates, you will realize that these foods are actually quite addictive. They have been made this way on purpose for the consumer to just buy more and more and more and make more profits for the companies. These foods have sugar most of the time, and sugar is a hyperstimulant. This basically means that because sugar is not found in nature very often, our brains have no natural defenses against it, which means that we can easily fall into addictions and lose self-control. This is why people binge eat and fail their diets and other stuff like that. So of course, if we want to follow the one ingredient principle and achieve an aesthetic body, we need to learn to quit these foods, or at least be able to severely limit consumption. We need to learn self-control. The best way to do that is just by making the resolve, the commitment that you're never going to eat these foods ever again. Now this might sound extreme, but believe me, it's way easier than telling yourself that you will eat junk food once in a while and then try to control yourself. I have found that when I made the resolve and told myself that I'm never eating junk food, fast food and most processed foods, I was easily able to quit. But when I told myself that I'm going to eat just once a week or just a little bit, I kept falling into binges and failing myself. This happens because these foods never satisfy you. Every time you eat them, you just get even more addicted and you want even more. Right now, downstairs, there is a Nutella jar. If I eat a little bit, nothing will happen to my body. That's true. But I know, after a lot of trial and error, that I will not be satisfied with just a little bit. If I ate 1 spoon of Nutella right now, I would want to eat the whole jar. And then if I eat the whole jar, I will want to eat another one, either in a few hours or the next day.
Come on, bro. Just one spoon.
Alright, fine.
Eat the whole jar, eat the whole jar. Come on.
Every time you eat junk food, you don't get satisfied, you just get frustrated, addicted, and you want even more. The cravings will never stop if you keep eating just a little bit. You are just frustrating yourself and you end up binging and ultimately disappointing yourself. I know this best, especially with chocolate ice cream. That used to be my biggest sin. The easiest way to control yourself is to just not play with fire. The urges for unhealthy food will disappear only if you stop eating it entirely. Not all urges will go away, but the majority will, and the big ones will definitely go away. The biggest urges you will get are like 5 out of 10s, rarely. This is how I quit eating unhealthy. I just decided, I made the resolve to quit forever instead of frustrating myself with eating unhealthy only once a week. You will see that being satisfied with your body, feeling amazing, being proud of yourself, living long and healthy, enjoying real food is much better than the 5 minutes of junk food guilty pleasure that is over before it started and only frustrates you and only leads to extreme guilt and disappointment in yourself. Become the type of guy to be proud of every action you take, quit eating unhealthy forever. It's easy once you actually make the resolve. You don't need junk food. It adds nothing to your life. It destroys your body. If you eat more one ingredient foods and avoid processed foods, if you stop obsessing over calories and just instead focus on exercising and eating healthy, and if you make the resolve to quit junk food forever, you will get an aesthetic body, because your diet is the most important thing. If you found value in this video, then join the movement and become a purposeful man. Subscribe for more of this type of content. Check out this playlist to learn more about how to get an aesthetic body, a strong body. And remember, if you don't achieve your purpose, nobody will. Be ruthless.